Good evening. Today we are going to see about the application layer. As we already know that it is one of the OSI, it is one of the layer of OSI model. The application layer enables the user, whether it may be a human or software, to access the network. The application layer is responsible for providing services to the user. It provides user interface and support for services such as electronic mail, file access and transfer, access to system resources, surfing the World Wide Web, and network management. In this video, we first discuss issues related to the web. We then discuss protocol HTTP that is used to retrieve the information from the web. The World Wide Web, WWW, is repository of information. What do you mean by repository? Repository means in Tamil, we used to tell it as Kalanchiyam. That is the location where data is stored and maintained. Therefore, World Wide Web is a repository of information linked together from points all over the world. The WWW has a unique combination of flexibility, portability, and user-friendly features that distinguish it from other services provided by the internet. The WWW project was initiated by CERN to create a system to handle distributed resources necessary for scientific research. So the WWW widely used today in a distributed client server services in which a client using a browser can access a service using a server. However, the service provided in is distributed over many locations called site. Each site holds one or more document referred as web pages. Each web page can contain a link to other web pages in the same site or at other site. The pages can be retrieved and viewed by using browsers. Let us go through the scenario which is shown in figure. The client needs to see some information that it knows belong to the site 1, or we can call it as site A. It sends request through its browser to a program that is designed to fetch web documents. The request, among other information, includes the address of the site and web page called the URL, which we are going to discuss shortly. The server at site A finds the document and send it to the client. That is, we are going to send the request to the server with the help of URL, and the server finds the document and send it to the client. When the user views the document, she finds some references to other document, including a web page at site 2. Now, the reference has the URL for a new site. The user is also interested in seeing this document. The client sends another request to the new site and new page is also retrieved. Here the new page is also be retrieved. So we will see this little bit detailedly. So the architectures can be explained with an analogy. Suppose if you want to eat a cake. In this lockdown, we cannot go out. So we plan to create here, when we plan to order a cake through phone, it is going to be exactly same as you want to find a document which you are going to search in the web. So now we will have a similarity study between the www and the ordering the cake through phone. So now we will see who are going to be a client. We know that we are going to order the cake. So here the client is going to be us. That is, we are going to be the client. But in the second example, where we are going to search the document, suppose we are going to type the word in the Google, and then you are going to search the corresponding document. Then in this, the client is going to be a browser. Each browser usually consists of three parts: a controller, client protocol, and interpreters. The controller receives input from the keyboard or the mouse and uses the client program to access the document. After the document has been accessed, the controller uses one of the interpreters to display the document on the screen. So the client protocol can be one of the protocols such as FTP or HTTP, which we are going to learn in this video or in next video. The interpreter can be a HTML, Java, JavaScript. Depending on the type of document, we will have a small introduction about these languages. So the next one is server. Here we know that if you are going to order the cake, then the bakery is going to be a server where the cake is prepared and stored. Similarly, you are going to search the word, corresponding document has to be displayed. So the web page is going to be stored at the server. So it may be, we will let us consider the example as Google. So here we have a client, which we call it as a browser, and similarly we have a server. For example, we consider the Google server. So each time a client send a request to the server. So like if you ordering a cake, then you want to dial the number and then you want to tell your ordering to the bakery. Either it may be a 1 cake or it may be a 2 cake or whatever it is, the needed has to be informed through the phone. Similarly, in web page, whatever documents you need to type the related words in the web pages. So after receiving the request, the corresponding document will be sent to the client. So it is exactly same as the cake will be delivered in our home. So this is what the operation is going to be done by www. So that is what we can call it as architecture, where we have a client, we have a server, and the client is going to send a request to the server. The server will find the corresponding document or related document and send back to the server will be sent back to the client. So here, as I told, when you order, you want to type the phone number. Similarly, you want to type the address, which we call here as URL. We will see in detail about it later on. So URL means Uniform Resource Locator. So now we will learn about URL. As I told you, the URL is going to be a Uniform Resource Locator. which is going to be the address of the site and the web page. So like, why we want to have a URL? It is similar as we have address for the house. The purpose of having address is to identify the house. Similarly, here to identify the website. Using this, we can send the message or receive the message. Therefore, client wants to access a web page, needs the address. The uniform resource locator is a standard for specifying any kind of information on the internet. To facilitate the access of documents distributed throughout the world, HTTP uses locators. So here the URL, we all know that it is an uniform resource locator, which is the address of either web page or website, defines 4 things: protocol, host computer, port, and path. So here we have a protocol, host, port, and path. It will be represented in this format. See, here we have a protocol called as HTTP, and we need to have a colon, // then you need to tell the address. It is www.internet.com, and after that, if you can have a colon, and port address is optional. We will see it later on. If possible, you can tell the path by using /. So we will see in detail about all these 4 things. So first we will see what is a protocol. The protocol is the client server program used to retrieve the document. Many different protocols can retrieve a document. Among them are FTP or HTTP. The most common today is HTTP, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. The next one is host computer. The host is a computer on which the information is located, although the name of the computer can be an alias. Web pages are usually stored in computers, and computers are given alias name that usually begins with a character www. That is not mandatory. However, as a host can be any name given to the computer that hosts the web page. The next one is port. The URL can optionally contain the port number of the server. You know that optionally means it is not going to be mandatory. The port is included. It is when you include the port, then it is inserted between the host and the path, and it is separated from the host by a colon, which I have shown in the figure. See here. It will be separated by using a colon. Here it is going to be a port number and it is going to be a host address, but it will be it is not going to exist in all the URL because it is optional. The last one is path. Path is the path name of the file where the information is located. Note that the path can itself contain slashes that in the Unix operating system separate the directories from the subdirectories and files. Now we know that it is our protocol and it is going to be host name, and this is the path, and here we don't have port as port is optional. And the World Wide Web was originally designed as a stateless entity. What do you mean by stateless entity? Means uh, when a client sends a request, a server responds to it. That's all. Their relationship is over. But today, the web has other functions. Some are listed here. Some website need to allow access to registered clients only. Websites are being used as electronic stores that allow user to browse through the store, select wanted items, put them in an electronic cart, and pay at the end with a credit card. Similarly, some websites are used as portals. The user selects the web page he wants to see. Some websites are just advertising. For this purpose, we need a mechanism known as cookies. So the creations and storage of cookies depends on the implementation. However, the principle is same. Whenever a server receives a request from a client, it stores information about the client in a file or a string. The information may includes the domain name of the client, the content of the cookie, a timestamp, and other information depending on the implementations. The server includes the cookie in the response that it sends to the client. When the client receives the response, the browser stores the cookie in the cookie directory, which is shorted by the domain server name, which I have shown in this figure. So how we are going to use the cookie? When a client sends a request to the server, the browser looks in the cookie directory to see if it can find a cookie sent by the server. If found, the cookie is included in the request. When the server receives the request, it knows that this is an old client, not a new one. Note that the content of cookie are never read by browser or disclosed to the user. It cannot be read by the browser, and client will be not know about this. So key is made by the server and it is eaten by the server. So now let us look where cookies are used in nowadays. In some site that restrict access to registered clients only sends a cookie to the client when the client register for the first time. For any repeated access, only those clients that send the appropriate keys are allowed. We all know that like in Amazon or Flipkart, if you want to shop, then you want to register. Similarly, as I told you, the same example for e-commerce purpose also, we are going to use the click cookies. So when a client selects an item, he is going to insert into your cart a cookie that contain information about that item, such as its number and its unit price is sent to the browser. The client select a second item, then it is also updated, it and so on. When the client finishes shopping, he wants to check out and the last cookie is retrieved and the total charge is calculated. Similarly, a web portal uses the cookie in a similar way. When users select their favorite pages, a cookie is made and sent. The site is accessed again. The cookie is sent to the server to show what the client is looking for. The cookie is also used for advertising agency. An advertising agency can place banner ads on some main website that is often visited by users. So we have learned about what is www and how its transaction or architecture is existed, and we know that uh, what is URL, why we want to have URL, what is the structure of URL, and we learn about what is cookie, how it is created, how it is used, and where it is used. Now we are going to learn about web documents. So the documents in the www can be grouped into three broad categories: static, dynamic, and active. The category is based on the time at which the content of the documents are determined. So we will discuss one by one. First, let me discuss about static document. Static documents are fixed content document that are created and stored in a server. The client can get only a copy of the document, in other words, the content of a file, or determine when the file is created, not when it is used. Of course, the content in the server can be changed, but the user cannot change them. When the client accesses the document, a copy of the document is sent. It will be not created at the time of request. It will be already created and it is stored in your server. It can be, you can access the document which is already created without any modifications or alterations. The user can then use a browsing program to display the document. We're just going to display the document. So for this case, to create such type of document, we are going to use HTML. What is a HTML? Hypertext Markup Language is a language for creating web pages. The term markup language comes from the book publishing industry. Before a book is typeset and printed, a copy editor reads the manuscript and puts mark on it. This mark tells the composer how to format the text. For example, if the copy editor wants part of the line to be printed in boldface, he or she draws a wavy line under that part. In the same way, data for a web pages are formatted and interpretation by a browser. HTML uses only ASCII characters for both the main text and formatting instruction. And as I shown in the video, web pages is made up of two parts, the head and the body. The head is the first part of the web page. The head contains the title of the page and the other parameters that the browser will use. The actual content of the pages are in the body, which includes the text and the tag. Whereas the text is the actual information contained in a page, the tags define the appearance of the document. Every HTML tag is followed by an optional list of attributes, all enclosed between less than and greater than symbol. As I told you, you see here the web pages contain a head part and a body part. All the instructions are included between the less than symbol and the greater than symbol. The head contains only the title of the pages and some parameters which is going to help our browser. The main content will be always present in the body. And you can also define the appearance. If you want bold or whatever it is, if you want italic, whatever you need, you can define the appearance here. And all these attributes should include in the less than and greater than symbol. So I have shown you one example. Next, we will discuss about dynamic document. A dynamic document is created by a web server whenever a browser requests the document. When a browser request, when a request arrives, the web server runs an application program or a script that creates a dynamic document. The server returns the output of the program or script as a response to the browser. It is not going to just display, it is going to give the response to the browser. Because each time a fresh document is created, that is, for each request a fresh document is created, the content of dynamic document is going to be vary from one request to another. So a very simple example of dynamic document is the retrieval of time and date from a server. Dynamic documents are sometimes referred as server-side dynamic documents. So now we'll see how it is going to be implemented. It is using the Common Gateway Interface, which is a technology that creates and handles dynamic document. CGI is a set of standard that defines how a dynamic document is written, how data are input to the program, and how the output result is used. CGI is is not a new language. Instead, it allows programmers to use any of several languages such as C, C++, TCL, or Perl. The only thing that CGI defines is a set of rules and terms that the programmer must follow. Here, the term common in CGI indicates that the standard defines a set of rules that is common to any language or platform. That is, the rule can be used in any languages or platform. The term gateway here means that a CGI program can be used to access other resources such as databases, graphical packages, and so on. The term interface here means that there is a set of predefined terms, variable calls, and so on that can be used in any CGI program. Any programmer who can encode a sequence of thought in a program and knows the syntax. But the problem with CGI technology is the inefficiency, that the result, if part of the dynamic document that is to be created is fixed and not changing from request to request. For example, assume that we need to retrieve a list of spare parts, their availability, and prices for specific car brand. Okay. Although the availability and prices vary from time to time, the name, description, and the picture of the parts are fixed. If we use CGI, the program must create an entire document each time a request is made. The solution is to create a file containing the fixed part of document using HTML and embed a script, a source code that can be run by the server to provide the varying availability and price section. So I will tell you again. So what is going to be drawback of CGI is if the whole part is going to be vary, then you can use CGI. But one part is going to be fixed and the other part is going to be vary, then the best one is you can use the scripting technologies where a fixed part is going to be designed using HTML and the varying part is going to be scripted by scripting languages. A few technologies have been involved in creating dynamic documents using scripts. Among these, the most common are Hypertext Preprocessor, PHP, which uses the Perl language. Java Server Pages, JSP, which uses the Java languages for scripting. Active Server Pages, ASP, a Microsoft product which uses Visual Basic Language for scripting. And Cold Fusion, which embeds SQL database queries in the HTML documents. So I have shown you here how the dynamic document is created with the help of HTML and script. The last one is active documents. So we know that in dynamic, the program is going to be run only at the server side. But for many applications, we need a program or a script which has to be run at the client side. So this type of documents are known as active documents. For example, suppose we want to run a program that creates animated graphics on the screen, or a program that interact with the user. For example, some registrations, something like that. The program definitely need to be run at the client side where the animations or interaction takes place. When a browser requests an active document, the server sends a copy of the document or a script. This document is then run at the client side. So active documents are sometimes referred as client-side dynamic documents. So here the document is going to be run on the client side. So now we will see how to create the active document. So one way to create the active document is to use the Java applets. Java is a combination of high-level programming languages, a runtime environment, and a class library that allows a programmer to write an active documents and a browser to run it. It can also be a standalone program that does not use a browser. An applet is a program written in Java on the server. It is compiled and ready to be run. So the document is in bytecode format. The client process creates an instance of this applet and run it. A Java applet can be run by a browser in two ways. In the first method, the browser can directly request the Java applet program in the URL and receive the applet in binary form. In the second method, the browser can retrieve and run an HTML field that has embedded the address of the applet as tag. Here I have shown the first method. So we have learned about www and how to create the web pages, that is web documents. And there we have three methods. In static document, it is just, it will be already created by the server and you can just display the document from the client side. In dynamic document, there whenever a request is sent to the server, it will run a program and send the corresponding output to the client. So each time the output is going to be modified. And in last case, active document, here again the program is created in server side, but it is going to be run at the client side. Whenever we need to run an animation or some interaction we has to be done, it will be used. And for these documents, for these web pages, we need to give address in order to identify. That address is known as URL. We call it as Uniform Resource Locator. And we have seen that we have four things and one is optional. And we have seen how www is going to be, what is the architecture of www, how the request is sent to the server and the server is going to respond. So we have seen in URL, the one part is known as protocol. That is a program which is going to run between the client and server. So one type of protocol is known as hypertext transfer protocol, and it is mainly used to access the data on the World Wide Web. As I have shown here, hypertext. What is hypertext? We all know that hyper is a link which is going to connect a document text. So we are going to have a text with a link. Whenever you click the text, it is going to be, see, for example, whenever you click, it will display the document or images, or it will do whatever you expected. Next one is transfer. We all know that the text is whenever you click the hypertext, some document is going to be transferred. That is shown here, transfer. The document, whenever you click the text, the document will be transferred. We all know that protocol is a program which is going to be make an agreement between the client and the server. So it is one of the application layer protocol which is going to use mainly when we need to access the data in the www, that is World Wide Web. HTTP function is going to be the combinations of FTP and SMTP. We know that FTP is a file transfer protocol and SMTP is a simple mail transfer protocol. We are going to see about this in detail in our next video. Hyper means, as I told you, link, and whenever you click the link, a document is going to be transferred. Okay, so this is what we call it as hypertext transfer protocol. So now we will see how the transaction is exist in HTTP. Here it is illustrated with the help of figure. The HTTP transaction is between the client and the server. Although HTTP uses the services of TCP, HTTP itself is a stateless protocol. As I told you, what is stateless protocol means? Whenever the client send a request, a transaction will be initialized, and whenever the server replies, the transaction will be completed. So this is why we call it as a stateless protocol or stateless entity. So the client is going to send the request. At that time, you are going to have the transaction is going to be initiated. After this, the server is going to send the document as its response. So now we will see the format of how the format is going to be exist in request and response message. More or less, the format of request and response messages are similar as I have shown in the figure. So this is request message and this is the response message. So a request message consists of a request line, a header, and sometimes a body. Similarly, a response message consists of a status line, a header, and sometimes a body. Sometimes means it is not compulsory. It may or may not present. So the first line in the request message is called request line, as I have shown in your previous figure. First line in the request message is request line and response message is status line. Now we are going to see about it. So here the first line in request message is request line, and in both request line and status line we have one common field which we call it as HTTP version, which I have shown you in the figure. Now we'll see one by one what is the request type. So request type, this field is used in request message. In version 1.1 of HTTP, several request types are defined. The request types are categorized into methods such as get, head, post, put, trace, connect, option, etc. And each method have a different action, which I have shown you in this figure as in tabular format. The next one is URL. I think we have discussed already about URL. What is URL? How it is going to be represented. Okay. Next one is version. The most current version is HTTP is 1.1. The next one is status code. Here the field is used in response message. So it consists of 3 digits, whereas the code in 100 ranges are only information. The code in 200 ranges we have, which is for which indicates a successful request. The code in the 300 range redirect the client to another URL, and the code in 400 range indicates an error in the client side, and 500 indicates the error at the server side. Here I'm not going to list the entire table, but I will show you the sample. The next one is status phrase, which is a field used in response message. It explains the status code in text form. That is what here. So what is content? 100 means what 100 is used for what purpose? 101 is what purpose? As I told, we have from 100 to 500. 100 is used only for informations, and 200 is used for successful request. 300 we are going to redirect the client to another URL. 400 when we have an error at the client side, and 500 we have an error at the server side. Similarly, we have a table column for all these code, but I have shown you the sample table format. And as I told you, phrase which is going to indicate the text format of this code, and the code is going to be only in 3 digits. Okay. So next one is, after as we have seen previously, next one is header. The header exchange the additional information between the client and the server. For example, the client can request the document which has to be sent in a special format, or the server can send extra information about the document. The header consists of one or more header lines. Each header line has a header name, a colon, a space, and a header value. A header line belongs to one of 4 categories: general header, request header, response header, and entity header. So we will see one by one. Okay. So what is a general header? The general header gives general information about the message, and it can be present in both a request and a response. So here I have listed the table about the general header with their descriptions. For example, catch control. Now it is going to have a specific information about catching. The next one is request header. The request header can be present only in the request message. It is not going to be present in response message, but general header means it can be present in both. So it specifies the client configurations and client preferred document format. So here I have shown some list. I have in the table, we have shown some list for request header and their descriptions. Okay. The next one is again the response header. The response header can be present only in response message, as we know. It specifies the server configurations and also special informations about the request. See a table for a list of some response header with their descriptions. The last one is entity header. The entity header gives information about the body of document, although it is mostly present in response message. Some request message such as post or put method that contain a body also use this type of header. So here I have listed some header and its descriptions. So the next one is the body. Here the body can present in a request or response message. Usually it contains the document which is going to be sent or received. I have shown you the example as HTML document. We have already seen what are the different types of documents available, and we have so we can conclude the session that we have learned about World Wide Web and HTTP protocol which helps to access the data from the www. And we have seen how HTTP transaction executed, and there we need to have two messages, a request message and a response message. In request message, similarly we have seen what is the format, and similarly we have seen in response message what is the format, and in header part what all the things we have to include, and in body part what all the things we have to include. We have seen different header lines where it is used, and we have listed the table for each type. So thank you, and we can conclude the session. Thank you.